Flex, look, this isn't good, isn't it? Where are you on Ten Hag? I mean, you've been very open and honest about the players. I think when Onana was bad, you said, you weren't too sure about Onana. You've been honest about Rashford and his form, Casemiro, Bruno. Let's switch to the manager for a second, because those players, by the way, they can't run away and hide because they need to be held accountable. But where are you with Erik Ten Hag at the moment?
Yeah, he's in a bad situation. He's in a bad situation. Obviously, it's the worst situation he's been in since he's been at United. Of course, we understand that. And it's a results business, isn't it? He can't keep losing too many more football matches. There is so much more bigger wrong at Man United than Erik Ten Hag. But with what's gone on in recent weeks, you do have to look at the lack of what he's getting out of the squad. You have to look at the sort of dressing room sort of dismay, to be honest, is the only way to describe it. It's fractious. It seems like it's broken. It seems like he's losing the players. In the last two performances that I saw, especially the Newcastle one, that was massively alarming, because I just looked at it and thought, I don't think he can get these players back. That's what I thought at the time. And against Manchester City, okay, first 15, 20 minutes, the game plan was probably just sit off and try and go on the counter-attack. But as soon as there was a little bit of adversity, i.e. the penalty went in, that was it. And it was free-fall. They gave up. So the confidence is at an all-time low. It doesn't matter who he picks as well. As United fans, it's drop Rashford. He's not doing very well. Don't play Bruno. Well, he fielded a team that most of Manchester United fans would have looked at against a C team of Newcastle. That was Newcastle's probably third string. People like Dummett playing and Kraft, who haven't played a lot of football in a long time, and said that team, that's the team we want to see. No reaction. So doesn't matter who he's picking, still no reaction.
Flex, you said something huge there, mate. You said something along the lines of, you can see that he's lost the dressing room. Now, from my experience, obviously, I'm a Chelsea fan. When the dressing room was gone, I've never known a situation where the manager can lose a dressing room and then retrieve it. If you genuinely think that it's gone, surely you think that at some point his tenure at Manchester United has to come to an end.
I said when I looked at it on the Sunday, what day was that game? Wednesday night. I looked at that at the first point and said, I think he's lost them. Now, look, you're emotional, you're in the game, and you need to calm down. You need to take all factors into consideration. Do I think he's lost certain players at this moment? Absolutely, I do, because we can see that in the performances. They're not together. They're not playing well at all, and they're getting beat, which is the biggest thing. But at Man United, you have to scale it back and say, if you sacked Erik Ten Hag right now today, whatever manager comes in would be back in this same cycle. Would get a bounce off whoever it was. I guarantee you, would go get De Zerbi out of Brighton, pay a huge load of money. He's going to want certain players and want a certain structure that isn't there at Manchester United. We saw Jose come, same thing happened. Ollie, fair enough, he brought the good vibes, but wasn't really credible for the job. You then get a good manager in Ten Hag. Now all of a sudden it's gobbled him up. Manchester United is broken from top to bottom as a whole institution. Of course, on the training ground, that's why I'm criticising Erik Ten Hag in this moment for the things that are at his doorstep. But the problems are so much bigger than Erik Ten Hag. And I don't think that by sacking him now, at this moment, without maybe letting him get all his players back, without letting him try and fight out of this awful situation now, because can't lose too many more games. I'm under no illusion about that. You can't lose too many more games because he'll go. But I do want Man United to resist sacking him. And also, what's the plan? Man United haven't got a plan to sack Ten Hag if they have to sack him tomorrow. You got Sir Jim Ratcliffe potentially going to buy 25% of the club and take over sporting direction of the club. What does that look like if you've then got a new manager? Got to get rid of them players. Then you don't want those players. It'll be even more of a mess. Manchester United needs to change structurally, or the glory days will never be back.
Sticking with this, because I do think this is quite important, the sort of losing the dressing room. There's usually a catalyst for it, isn't it? I mean, last season, though, it was such a good season for you. And everyone seemed to be on the same hymn sheet, and everyone was excited when you speak to United fans about what could happen this season if you got the right players. What could have been the catalyst then for losing the dressing room this season? Is it a big name player sort of kicking things up? Like, who is sort of the figurehead for this? Do you know what I mean?
Sancho, maybe.
You think Jadon Sancho's got enough power as a 23-year-old to help lose that dressing room?
I think it's really difficult when and this is what we try to do as Manchester United fans, and actually not just Manchester United fans, football fans. When there's adversity and there's crisis, you try to look to one singular thing that is the reason. And I can speak for my football club because I understand it better than any other. It isn't one singular reason why Man United are in this situation. It is a culmination of many things. The manager is not off the hook with his methods, with his tactics, with how he's adapting to having injuries, and his transfers, the people that he's brought in. The players are not off the hook because we've seen this. Half of that squad, we've seen them get 3 previous managers sacked. So the Leopards don't change their spots. We can't ignore that. And obviously at the top, and I hate to say the Glazers here on talkSPORT before people think, here they go, they're going to get the green and gold scarves out, they're just going to blame it all on the Glazers. But honestly, unless you get deep systemic rooted change from the very top, these things won't stop happening. How could all these players that Manchester United have bought, pretty much, the best part of over £1 billion, like what City have spent in the same time? How could the turnover of players keep coming in and keep getting churned out? How can the turnover of managers keep coming and keep getting churned out? That starts from the top. That starts from not doing things correctly. So back to the Jadon Sancho situation, would that have helped make a better dressing room? Would that have helped get confidence? No, it wouldn't. It would be one of many cogs that have kind of made us be at this point.
What about moving forward then, Flex? Obviously, you've got a big game away at Craven Cottage, but the Champions League is by no means a guarantee that you're going to get through there. Let's look over the next, say, 3 to 5 games. How are you feeling about that? And do you think Erik ten Hag will still be Manchester United manager when that period's over?
Straight after the game against Newcastle, I was in a bad place. Yeah,
you must have thought he was gone after Newcastle.
No, I didn't. I knew.
Back-to-back 3-0 defeats at home.
No.
Okay.
No, because he won't. Because essentially, he just come off the back of winning 3. That's what I think Man United will do this season.
Copenhagen and Brentford. God.
Yeah, mate, but they're points, Rory. They're points. And when you're fighting down at the bottom and you've got nothing, you've got no style to play, you've got a decimated squad, and the pressure's on. The only currency people understand is W's, mate. Yeah. So it doesn't matter how he wins.
You know what it is, Flex? I almost feel sorry and I feel bad that we're having a discussion about Erik ten Hag and not a discussion about Rashford having scored 1 Premier League goal and Højlund haven't scored yet and Anthony being useless and Casemiro deciding he's not the best defensive midfielder.
But a lot of these are Ten Hag signings. I do feel like in this conversation, look, Flex is completely right. There is a broader, bigger conversation to have about Manchester United. But Ten Hag's making a pig's ear of it.
I agree, but Rashford doesn't score 30 goals in all competitions last season and then have 1 league goal this season. I'm not accepting that's a Ten Hag issue. That's a Rashford issue.
Okay, that's one very particular issue. But what I've seen Ten Hag do this season, I haven't been particularly impressed. I've seen Ten Hag put Harry Maguire up front. I've seen Ten Hag rely on Donny van der Beek.
No, but I want and see the players that you just mentioned, and you are correct about those. I don't expect much from Harry Maguire, and I certainly don't expect much from Donny van der Beek.
Try to sell them both.
Yeah, exactly. I expect a lot from Casemiro coming back to pre-season out of shape. I expect a lot. I expect one of the best players last season in the Premier League, Casemiro, came back, has been useless. You know what I mean? It may not don't sign him to score goals. Now he's out again as well. So it's the big players, the Mounts, the Casemiros, the Rashfords, the Brunos, who I expect to do something. I'm not expecting
Erik ten Hag is not immune from criticism, and I think that within the Manchester United fan base, obviously, because we've been through it quite a few times in recent years, as soon as people start to question the manager, they say, you can't do that, just back the manager. Like, no, you can still say Ten Hag needs to improve on this, and this, but I don't want him to be sacked. I want him to improve on these things so we can turn it around. Like, Rory's right. He's made some decisions where he's brought in Mason Mount for big money. He's brought in Casemiro for big money. We've waited all season long to get Amrabat, Højlund, big money. Obviously, he's a young kid. I like the kid. I think he's got a bright future, but it's a lot of weight on his shoulders. He waited and said, I don't care what it costs, go and get me Anthony. That's on Ten Hag.
Yeah, it's true.
That's on Ten Hag.
Flex, just before you go, one very quick question. Does Erik ten Hag last the season? At the end of the season, when the referee blows the full-time whistle on Manchester United season this year, is Erik ten Hag still the manager? Understood. Thank you.
I'm gonna say yes.
Okay. Quick prediction, Flex, Fulham, Manchester United tomorrow?
I've been predicting 1-0 Fulham all week, mate. So
no,
I think Man United will nick it. It won't be pretty, like every single one of our wins this year.